Today marks 9 years since the first episode of Breaking Bad first premiered on television. It's hard to believe that the little show struggling to avoid cancellation turned cultural phenomenon has been off the air for so long. Part of that is because the excellent spin-off prequel Better Call Saul has helped fill the void, but I believe a main reason for Breaking Bad's lasting impression and continued relevance is its unique tone and aesthetic. Creator Vince Gilligan has many inspirations for the look and feel of Breaking Bad, such as The Godfather Part 1 and 2, The French Connection, The Maltese Falcon, but the biggest influence he's cited time and time again is Sergio Leone's spaghetti western classic, Once Upon a Time in the West. Here's what Gilligan had to say when discussing Once Upon a Time's influence on the show. Once Upon a Time in the West is a great visual inspiration for this show. Just the opening 15 minutes of that movie are so striking and so interesting and just grab you by the balls when you watch. Very little is said, and I love that kind of storytelling. I like telling a story visually. In other interviews, Gilligan has even gone as far as to say that he has every oncoming director watch the opening 15 minutes to Once Upon a Time before directing their assigned episode. Numerous times, Gilligan cites not only the film, but specifically the film's opening 15 minutes. So in this video essay, I want to examine Once Upon a Time in the West's opening 15 minutes and offer 2 ways in which it directly influenced Breaking Bad's pilot episode. First is in the visual and auditory aesthetic. Visually, there's the blatant similarity in setting, as both take place primarily in the desert, but there's also a similarity in the framing techniques. Wide-angled lenses were utilized in both Once Upon a Time and Breaking Bad in order to capture the expansive, isolating landscape of the desert. But they were also used to suggest character weakness. When Walt's plan begins crumbling around him, we see him small in the frame, overwhelmed and overshadowed by his surroundings. And when there's the showdown between the villains and our main character, the villains are closer to the frame, making them appear larger and more imposing over our hero, who in contrast looks smaller and weaker in the frame. Both Once Upon a Time and Breaking Bad also utilized extreme close-ups to capture little nuances and details and mannerisms that most films neglect. In one shot, we're engulfed in the sweeping ocean of dirt and scorching heat, and in the next, we're thrown right into the awkward tension, as we're close enough to see every bead of sweat on the characters' sun-scorched faces. The next striking similarity is in the use of sound. In film, the rule of thumb is that action speaks louder than words. Talk is cheap. It's in the action that we learn who our characters truly are. In Once Upon a Time, we see the power of the quiet killers without them ever having to say a word. They show it by dropping the tickets and locking the man in the closet. In Breaking Bad, we learn about characters through quiet actions too.
Ionic bonds.
Such as the troublesome student. And also Walter, standing in the desert, holding a gun as he awaits the oncoming sirens. Both have beautifully written dialogue, but it's the overly quiet aesthetic that helps them stand out. Neither Once Upon a Time or Breaking Bad is afraid to slow the story down and let it quietly breathe. There are numerous quiet moments throughout where the audience is left to wonder what the characters are thinking. Who are the killers waiting for? What is Walt going to do for money? It's these deliberately slow moments that also give more weight and meaning to the eventual explosive moments. Without the drawn-out build-ups, those moments don't carry as much weight or meaning for the audience. The second way in which Once Upon a Time influenced Breaking Bad is in the use of levity. Both are riddled with small, awkward, humorous moments that interject a dose of much-needed levity to their dark subject matters. As an audience, we bring our expectations to the table when we sit down to watch a Western or a crime drama. But the use of levity reverses our expectations. We don't expect to see gunslingers playing with flies, or meth cooks in their underwear.
Those
Wow. Those, you're keeping those on, right?
Also, a pitfall that I think a lot of shows dealing with dark subject matters make is that they stew in their darkness and grit. The entire program is one note. It doesn't build, and it grows tiresome. The audience needs lighter moments to breathe. And much like I mentioned earlier with the use of building sound, the use of levity helps build the dramatic scenes, making them resonate more. The introduction to any good TV show, movie, or book sets the tone for what's to come in the remainder of the story. For Breaking Bad, it all began with a few quiet, wide-angled shots, interrupted by a plummeting pair of pants. Who could have guessed that it would launch us into what would eventually become one of the greatest television shows of all time?